Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out today. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover. So we're going to dive right into it here with the first topic that is actually a follow-up to something we covered earlier in the week. It has to do with the reports coming out that apparently it might be dangerous to stand your PlayStation 5 console up vertically and use it that way. In other words, use it the way that it's being advertised. And there was a lot of skepticism surrounding this, as there should be, because when you hear a claim like this, it can potentially be pretty serious, right? Coming out and saying that there's a major design flaw with the PS5 that somehow, some way, Sony overlooked, and if you use it the way that they're advertising it, you're going to potentially run into some serious issues. Well, it turns out that the source that claimed this is completely backtracking now. And it just goes to show that there are always going to be these, I guess, reports that come out and make claims. And as we've seen time and time again, they don't add up to anything. You know, there have been quite a few different claims since the PS5 launched that there's a problem here, or there's a problem there, or there's something wrong with this. And no, actually, it seems that Sony knows what they're doing. But anyway, this report originally came from Wololo.net, and they come out and they say, here goes nothing. There was a critical misunderstanding on our end when we thought the coder said that the liquid metal problem happened on unopened in-box PS5s. What he said and meant was PS5s that had not been opened, meaning the actual console itself, by other repair shops prior to him. The problem is still real, but there is no evidence that it happens on consoles that have been sitting in their box. That part was a complete misunderstanding on our end. The damage is done, but I've updated the article. And yeah, that's the thing. They were making it sound as if you buy a PlayStation 5 brand new, you set it up vertically, you're doing damage. You're killing your PS5, as they put it here in the article. And that's not the case at all. Their critical misunderstanding basically says that, oh, actually it turns out that the only evidence we have of this is coming from a repair shop that is receiving maybe 15, 20 PS5s in total that are used, that are out of the box, and had God knows what done to them, right? Like, we have no idea how these people were using their PS5s, what environment they were in. We don't know. And so it's a pretty massive leap, and that is a critical misunderstanding to go from, hey guys, you know, Sony may have a major design flaw in the PS5 and they're going to start dropping like flies and you're doing damage and, you know, you're destroying your PS5, versus, oh, we have just a very, 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 very small segment here of just a couple of PlayStation 5s from people who were using them for who knows how long, in which way, you know, and that's what you're going to base it off of. So yeah, it pretty much turns this into a whole lot of nothing, and it's honestly not that surprising. I mean, we know at this point that there can be things like this that pop up with hardware. It's happened in the past. It can obviously happen again. So I think it's understandable that, like, if you see a bunch of headlines coming out making this claim, to maybe be a little bit nervous and be a little bit cautious and, oh, you know, maybe this could be something. But, you know, as more and more people were kind of looking into it, they were coming out and they were saying, yeah, this doesn't seem like anything. This just seems like some random sources with a very, very small pool of consoles, basically trying to make a claim that this is a widespread problem when it's really not. It's extremely isolated, and it's actually within normal parameters of, you know, console failure rate. That's what a lot of people were saying, and it made a lot of sense because it's like, yeah, I mean, up until this point, I haven't heard anything. I don't know anybody personally who's had any issues with their PS5. I've stood my PlayStation 5 up vertically many times, and I haven't had any issues, and I've seen many of you say the same thing. So this is yet another bogus PlayStation 5 report that we can just throw in the misinformation bin. I don't know why, but this has happened quite a bit more than it should with the PlayStation 5 specifically leading up to the launch and within the 2 years that it's been available on the market. I guess at some point, people like myself and others whose job it is to kind of cover this had to just maybe walk away and say, you know what? When we get information coming out like this, when we see claims being made like this, or when we get reports like this, at this point, I think I'm just going to start to take a couple steps back and just give it some time because more often than not, they just turn out to be completely untrue, unfounded, and they get, torn up at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I think at this point it's safe to say when it comes to console hardware and the PlayStation 5 specifically, turns out Sony knows what they're doing. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. We're moving on and talking about Hogwarts Legacy. We have some good news for this game. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says Hogwarts Legacy PS5 and Xbox Series X versions will support variable refresh rate, or VRR, on supported display devices. This is what Avalanche Studios and WB Games have confirmed. The game will also offer multiple graphics modes on current-gen consoles. WB Games has said that Hogwarts Legacy's PS5 and Xbox Series versions will support multiple graphics modes, but hasn't detailed all of them for some reason. The publisher wrote that the most common modes are Fidelity and Performance, which target 30 FPS and 60 FPS respectively. Hogwarts Legacy will also come with a number of accessibility features as well as difficulty options. As is the norm with most modern games, Hogwarts Legacy will have a story difficulty in which puzzles won't be time sensitive and minigames requiring precise movements cannot be failed. So I wanted to let you guys know about this because I know that many of you are looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy, and I think that this is good news overall. I am not against, games having different options and, stuff like this, especially when it comes to a game like this. I mean, a lot of, I guess you could say, more casual gamers are going to be attracted to this because of the, Harry Potter name and whatnot. And so I'm okay with that. I love the fact that they're going to have a performance mode. I think that's absolutely critical. I think it would have been insane if a game like this didn't have a 60 FPS performance mode. I'm going to be honest. I think any game that comes out going forward that is releasing on these current gen consoles, any game that doesn't offer a 60 FPS mode is just kind of crazy to me. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this and let me know if you're planning on playing at 30 FPS in the fidelity mode or the 60 FPS performance. Now, we are moving on to the final topic, which talks about Naughty Dog and how they're making it clear that going forward with their games, they're going to be trusting the player a lot more. And they're taking heavy inspiration from games like Elden Ring when it comes to storytelling. So this was something that was talked about recently by Neil Druckmann. He did an interview with the Washington Post, and he was citing how he's been heavily inspired by the storytelling in Elden Ring, as well as games like Inside. And there's a quote here from him. He says, games that trust their audience to figure it out, that don't hold your hand, that's the stuff I'm intrigued by going forward. And we also have Vinit Agarwal, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly. He is the co-game director at Naughty Dog for the upcoming Last of Us multiplayer project. And he says, this is a major one for me as well. Talking with Miyazaki-san last month on Elden Ring, one thing we nodded on back and forth was trusting the player. It allows for a more fulfilling design, both for the player, but even the developer. It lets you do more, in fact, than less. So I thought that this was really important to highlight because to me, this is kind of coming out of left field a little bit, and it does intrigue me because when I think of Naughty Dog, I honestly kind of think of the opposite a little bit, not entirely. I feel like Naughty Dog has done actually a really good job with games like The Last of Us in kind of having environmental storytelling. But a lot of the stuff in many of Sony's games, we know that they kind of do that a bit, right? Like I don't want to say that they hold your hand, but they do kind of guide you along the way and they're on the nose with a lot of stuff. And I think that that's been one of Sony's greatest strengths, but it's also, I think, as I said, intriguing to kind of see a developer like Naughty Dog kind of come out and say, yeah, going forward, we're kind of going to change that. We're going to go in a different direction. So we're already kind of beginning to see the influence that a game like Elden Ring is having on some of these major AAA studios. This is something that a lot of people um, speculated upon when Elden Ring came out to such critical reception and it just took over. It was, what type of impact is this going to have on game development going forward? Well, one thing we can say for sure is whether you think Elden Ring is overrated or not, Naughty Dog, one of Sony's biggest studios, is going to be taking cues from it and is inspired by it. So let me know what you think about that. That's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.